Good morning everyone and happy Friday. In this video I'm going to be analysing EU and DXY to see if there's any day trading opportunities. You're going to see my technical analysis and my strategy, so if you're interested in those then please stick around. Okay, let's begin here on the daily chart. As always, on the top is EU, on the bottom is DXY. What can we see on the daily? Well, we can see now we've had two massive bullish days. Yesterday closed as another massive bullish candle. And obviously the inverse on DXY, we have closed with two massive bearish candles, right? So big bearish engulfing here. We've closed below these lows here, violated this order block, you could say. We've come down into this gap. So there was a gap in price on DXY, which you'll see clearer on the lower time frame where I've pointed that out. But yeah, there's not much to say on the daily except for it looks like EU is bullish. DXY is clearly showing bearish momentum as well. And we've got our previous daily high, previous daily low. You can see we've taken our previous daily high buy side liquidity already and previous daily low sell side liquidity. So let's move on to the lower time frames. So now you join me here on the 4 hour. I've zoomed out a little bit so you can see we've had, of course, this massive bullish leg, this bullish run. You can see yesterday on news, we've created another bullish leg. And we've closed above previous highs, taking that buy side liquidity from this high in January, and we've gone into this 4 hour POI because we had an order block here and fair value gap. So it's POI, but the POI has been swept anyway, so that's more buy side liquidity. Previous daily high clearly been swept on the open. And also on DXY now, you can see clearly we've taken sell side liquidity from these previous January lows, and we've just gone into this price gap, right? So we've just mitigated this price gap just slightly, which is obviously the same as, you know, an imbalance on EU or any other pair. So you can see it's in that same position, and we're in a good area of POI. We're in a very deep discount now of this leg we created, and we're in a very high premium of this leg with loads of buy side and sell side liquidity swept. So what picture does that give us so far? Well, it gives us definitely a cause for a pullback to a discount on EU down here where this 4 hour order block is, right? You would expect after taking all this major buy side liquidity and rejecting this POI possibly that we're going to pull down to some sort of discount. So it's already indicating that, you know, we should favor sells, we should favor shorts because we've taken buy side liquidity and we're in this premium after a big massive bullish run. And then we have the inverse, of course, on DXY. So I think the 4 hours is very clear. We have our clear legs and we have our POIs and reason to give for a possible pullback. So I'm a bit more zoomed in now on the 1 hour, so I hope you can remember what we just looked at on the 4 hour. You can see we've got these high lows, high highs, high lows, high highs. So we've been creating bullish 1 hour legs clearly. Now we're in this current 1 hour leg. This is our discount. We've got a 1 hour POI, which I've labeled as a price draw. We have the same opposing POI on DXY, which would also act as a price draw after mitigating our POIs up here, taking some buy side liquidity, and we are in a premium. So this is a good area to target, at least up until this equilibrium, right? There's obviously a 4 hour POI here as well, and price should, we would suspect, using our liquidity concepts, be seeking out sell side liquidity today. So there's not much more to add on the 1 hour. What I will point out is, even though we have 15 minutes left, I have identified this 1 hour order block here on EU. We've got 15 minutes until it closes and these actually become order blocks, but it looks like that's going to be the case. The same is happening on DXY, however the gap isn't quite as large, so I'm not sure if this 1 hour order block will survive. We'll see, hopefully it does. So you can see they're slightly diverged in how much they pulled away from that area. We've gone into this POI here, there is an order block there and fair value gap, which has caused a rejection. And on EU, we obviously took out the sell side liquidity and fulfilled this imbalance here before it's looking to pull back. These are negatives, but obviously there's always going to be imbalances and areas that are going to cause the pullback, which we need. Okay, so yeah, we have our 1 hour POIs on each side. Hopefully they both survive and it will be a good POI to look for sales from. So let's go down to the M15 and see what opportunities we have for today. Now before I proceed, just an FYI in case you weren't aware, today is NFP. Price, again, as I've been saying for the last few days, especially on NFP and the day before, doesn't tend to move very well, doesn't tend to always respect our concepts. So it may be one to be cautious on and, you know, not just be gun-ho and jump into trades, especially once we start approaching the end of the London kill zone, going into New York especially. Price is just going to probably accumulate again before news does its thing. To the M15, as I mentioned, we've mitigated partially our price gap on DXY, and we've also mitigated our 4 hour POI and swept some buy side liquidity on EU. So internally here, just to draw your attention, you can see at the end of the Asia kill zone into Frankfurt, it swept internal liquidity and broke down, which looks good, right? It left behind a 15-minute order block, which is within that 1 hour order block. So we've got some nested order blocks there. We've got this pullback happening. We've got our break of structure that occurred just here, of course, and we've got an internal liquidity sweep after we've taken all this buy side and we're in a premium. So that looks great for sales. So what I would want to see is price continue coming up into our area to look for sales to go down. Again, of course, it's NFP day. Hopefully price is a bit more respectful and will, you know, respect our concepts and our strategy today. But that would be what I'm looking for. I'd have something like this drawn out, of course, just putting it at the high and targeting wherever, it doesn't really matter, the lows for 3% or beyond, right? So that's the first most immediate trade I'd be looking for. If any negatives present themselves, then of course you may want to allow this area to hold. You could see price come into this area, create a structure maybe, whether it sweeps it or not, and then breaks down again. You could wait for some sort of continuation for that in that sort of way if you wanted to have more confidence, or wait for price to show this area is good, break down, pull back to maybe a POI it's left behind, and go again with a trade that way. So obviously my bias is towards shorts today. I wouldn't want to long anything. I don't think we'll have time to get a long anywhere, but if we did, it would be down here for me. You'd want price to come in, create a structure, sweep that structure, break above, and pull back to a lower time frame POI to go. Now, I don't think these will happen. I think news may just bring price down and bring price back up. We'll see what happens, but that would be what I would be looking for. Of course, DXY has come into this 1 hour OB. It's got its 15-minute order block here as well. So they are out of sync. The good thing about that could be by the time DXY and EU, by the time this pulls back and this goes into its order block here, it may cause some divergence and sweep its lows. And that would look like if we had a lower high here on EU, then that would be a positive that we had a weak EU and possibly DXY was just sweeping these lows to sponsor us move higher. Of course, because we've had the same break of structures here on DXY, it does look good. However, their OBs and POIs aren't synced up. In fact, this OB doesn't exist anymore because it didn't close out with the fair value gap. So those would be my trade ideas. Yesterday I stayed out of the market. You can see I've got these hypothetical ideas here and I'll show you why I didn't enter those. We had our SMC divergence, which was great. We had our good pullback, which was great. These would have both just been break even. None of them played out fully until news. We failed to make a higher high here when EU made a lower low, so I didn't trust it. Waited for it to break down again and do another pullback. Failed to make another higher high again, whereas EU made like its lower lows, so price continued down. So they would have just been break evens anyway. So nice and quick today. These are the ideas, of course, that I'm looking for Of course, this is the main idea. Sells would be what I'm favoring. This is just if we come down into this area or stay in this area at all, we would want to see structure created and break above and play out. This is my priority. I won't be trading in the NY session at all today because of NFP. So if we don't get this early in the morning and it doesn't look right, that'll be me done for today. So a nice and quick one. I hope you gained value from that. Anything you want to ask, let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon.